Yeah, Frank here has got his own billiard room.
Yes, it's what do you call it, Kramer?
Billiard room.
No, not billiard, not the billiards. It was
billiards room.
Come on already. Come on, we call it the
place to be.
The place to be. Yes, the place to be.
Then I shall be there.
Now, it's time. Live and in living color.
The Grandy Man can.
Time to play the game.
Well, you always left me satisfied and smiling, so.
That's what she said.
Why do I want this? I want to make bank, bro. I want to get ass. I want to drive a Range Rover.
Place to be Nation, Scott Criscola and Justin Rosero. This is the Place to Be podcast.
Very nice, Mr. Crisbola.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dennis.
And then they trash him and say he's a fucking pill-popping, pothead or whatever when he left.
Fuck you, Daddy.
I don't know what the fuck the Department of Health is.
To do worse than Josh Richer.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another great episode of the one and only Place to Be podcast. I am your co-host, Justin Rosero, coming to you live from deep inside the PTB man cave. I am all hooked up with Verizon. I am on Cloud 9. I am still without my microphone cord, though, so hopefully one more episode of this yelling into the MacBook. And the person, of course, I'm always yelling at is my PIC, Scott Criscola. Scott, how you doing?
I'm great, JR. You got to be careful because, your neighbors, the crazy 2 a.m. gardeners, you're going to be a little careful.
Well,
he might be watering his lawn right now. So
I hear the sprinklers go on at 11 every night, so I will know. And I don't need a clock.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, JR. And welcome, everyone. PTB Nation, it is episode 159 of the Place to Be podcast. I hope everyone enjoyed, for those that have had a chance to listen, to part 2 of our awesome interview with Bruno Lauer. It was tremendous.
Yep.
He was awesome. If you thought part 1 was good, I gotta be honest with you, I thought part 2 was better. I mean, we really delved in and had a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, I agree. They were both great. Part 2 was very interesting. Part 2 was different. Part 1 was a lot more of his career and history.
Right.
Part 2 was a little more of his opinion and views on the business and different competitors within that business. So we're getting a lot of love around the internet, actually, a surprise. We even made the Observer a daily news update, so we're excited about that.
Yes, I was very cool about that.
Also need to give a shout out to our buddy John Sturm, who set things up for us with Bruno. So thank you so much, John, for getting us in touch with Bruno. He was an awesome guy. And we're going to work on delivering that Dutch Mantel interview that we talked about with Bruno as well. So,
yes, and again, our prayers go out to Dirty Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the very tragic death of his niece, I believe it was.
Granddaughter. It was his granddaughter.
Yeah. And of course, go to his Facebook page and of course the email dirtydutchmantel 2 L's at gmail.com. All right, tonight it is Monday night, and we're keeping tabs on our 2 Monday night games. The only double dip of the year, but more in football. Later in the week.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's Monday. You know what that means, JR? Time to, it's the second week of school, so I'm sure he's here. Let's take a look. Oh.
Hey, what is going on here?
I'm going to the international side of the vault, so stay where you are. I'm not going over to the U.S. side. I'm going over here. So stay where you are. Okay. Here we go. All right, tonight on the Place to Be podcast, we're diving right in, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, inside the Vintage Vault. I don't have a witticism for tonight because this might be, JR. We'll have this isn't the last one for sure, but the first truly great secondary pay-per-view in WWF history.
Yeah, we've had some good ones, but this is really the one. I mean, this is on the short list of greatest pay-per-views of all time.
Yep.
From this company. So, it's only a 2-hour show with 4 matches, but it is loaded. So, very excited.
And that is, of course, tonight in the Vintage Vault, in your house, Canadian Stampede. Yes, that one.
Why couldn't I have gone to the show instead of King of the Ring?
Why couldn't I have flown 3,000 miles? Yes, a very history-making show, and many consider the final great, well, maybe there's a great moment the next month.
Will you stop?
Quite sorry, Mr. President. Hope everything is well. He had a lot of work going on here, President Monsoon. A lot of angst going on and off camera, JR, inside Titan Towers. But on this night, many consider this I wouldn't say this is Bret Hart's last great moment. That probably comes the next month. This would be the Hart family's last great moment.
Yes, without a doubt. This is really the final feel-good moment for them as far as, definitely pay-per-view, but even TV. This is the last time you really see them at their peak, unfortunately.
Yeah, very happy. And then everything is very sad. But all right, let's have some fun. July 6th, 1997. Live from the Saddle Dome. I believe it was just the Saddle Dome. Eventually, some company called Pengrowth would buy the naming rights. I don't think it was called that yet. I believe it was still just called the Saddle Dome in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Wow.
Pengrowth is a not like a mutual fund company, but they're something stupid. Oh no, or the Energy. I forget. There's something.
I don't remember. Some Canadian.
It's actually owned by Scotiabank now.
Oh, okay. So I wonder if it's called the Scotiabank Saddle Dome now. Probably is.
And it's an energy company, Pengrowth Energy.
Okay, Pengrowth. Okay. Your attendance, pretty good for a secondary pay-per-view, 12,151. It could have been 151 people, and it would have been through the roof loud.
And the capacity there, 19,289. So.
Okay. Very brief, if you'd like, JR. Brief history of our fine arena. Just to let everyone know, I know poor JR and I get these funny debates, but obviously as time progresses, these arenas repeat, and we won't do this every time it comes up. We will only do this when it's a debut building. So we'll just let everyone know that. I know a couple people have, think we kind of belabor this, and it's a fun part.
Well, we could have been done by now. Instead, you have to give your George W. Bush-esque rambling soliloquy trying to defend the things that don't need to be defended. So, the Calgary Saddle Dome, now known, of course, as the Scotiabank Scattle Dome, the that dome. Formerly named Olympic Saddle Dome from 83 to 85, Canada Airlines Saddle Dome from 95 to 2000, and then the Pengrowth was 2000 and 2010. Okay, that's it.
Yeah. And then it's, and we know the Flames played there. And
yeah, well, it was actually built it looks like for the Olympics, or that was one of the reasons anyway they were trying to get it built. So
yes, and of course the Olympics were there in 1988. Mm-hmm. I believe the building was. They probably wanted it. I know they were you know what it was? They were battling with, probably. I don't know where were the Winter Olympics in '76. I don't remember. It ended up going to somebody else, but they built it. And obviously, the Flames played there, and the Olympics went there in '88. So,
right.
All right, your
and
buy rate.
So this is going to give the teams quickly. The Flames, the Calgary Hitmen, of course.
Duh, of course.
The Calgary Roughnecks, the Calgary Outlaws of the NBL, the Calgary Rads of the RHI, and the Calgary 88s of the WBL. Played there
the RHI, Roller Hockey International.
Yeah, that was only 1 year. The Calgary RAD''Z, the Rads.
The Rads. Okay. All right, your buy rate 0.59, and your announced team back in the seat. Was he
back in the saddle, if you will?
Saddle. It was Vincent Kennedy McMahon who skipped. No, he was at King of the Ring. That's right.
Oh yeah, he was there. The '88 Winter Olympics, the bidding went Calgary outlasted Sweden and Italy, Falun, Sweden, and Cortina d'Ampezzo, Italy.
Yes, Cortina was, I believe that was the 72 Winter Olympics were in Cortina. I've never heard of that other place in Sweden.
I never heard of that.
Never heard of that. Well, Sweden ended up getting a Winter Olympics in '94 when it was in Lillehammer. We're not talking about the Olympics.
No, that was Norway.
Lillehammer was in Norway? Oh,
yes.
Okay.
God, get your Nordic countries correct.
get your snowy countries. Never mind, I was going to say something.
I'm a big fan of Norsemen, so I'm all up on that.
Okay. Anyway, your announcers, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, three guys that aren't Norse. Good old JR, Jim Ross, and of course the King, Jerry Lawler. A few fun facts, JR, before we go to the free-for-all.
And before that, I will tell you that the 1976 Winter Olympics were in Innsbruck, Austria.
Okay, Innsbruck. Yes. And then the Summer Games were, of course, in Montreal. Thus, they built the Big O. All right.
Glenn Ordway?
The what?
Nothing.
Yes.
Only people who know WEI will understand that joke.
Yes. All right. Three quick quips before we move on to the free-for-all. Number one...
and you are wrong, as usual. The 1976 bidding did not include Calgary. It was Sion, Switzerland, Denver, who was actually the next runner-up, Tampere, Finland, and Vancouver, Canada.
Oh.
So
Vancouver.
Okay, I'm done.
Whatever. Okay.
Move on.
All right. Three facts. Number one, I got bad news for you, JR.
Mm-hmm.
You know how we on Monday nights, we get our quickie shows?
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? This is the last quickie show.
Ah.
Final 2-hour secondary pay-per-view, beginning in 2 months with the September show. Every pay-per-view, yes, will be 3 hours. And of course, as time progresses, obviously WrestleMania will be longer, but that's not till the 2000s. So, number two, if you look closely at VKM's outfit with his silly little vest and his little chaps and his
Clown shoes.
And his mustache and his hat. He's almost wearing the exact same outfit that he wore at the 1994 Survivor Series in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's probably in his little prop closet. Wait, we're going to somewhere I do horses? Get out my cowboy outfit.
Yeah. Now, earlier in the year when the Royal Rumble was in San Antonio, where it was in 94 he wore a tux.
Well, that was a big deal. That was a real arena. That wasn't some dump.
Yeah.
The also, I kind of wish he wore the Smoking Guns tan corduroys. Like, that'd be an awesome outfit for him to
Yes. And number 3, we talk about our announced teams, but at this point, with the show being in Calgary, obviously the announcing situation's a little strange with Lawler as the color commentator. Of course, Lawler and Brett were in a heated feud for almost 3 years. Then, of course, when Brett turned heel, Lawler had to, of course, be a heel with him. But now we're kind of back to the way we were before because obviously the Calgary crowd will be very pro-Hart. He's got to act like a jerk again to the Hart. So it's, probably make some, Stu and Helen or, stuffed jokes and that kind of jazz. So very strange situation. And of course, JR and Vince, pro. I don't know what they were. They were just kind of pro everything. Because obviously, a very weird dynamic, JR. And I think that's.
Well, they don't defend the Harts at all, though. It's almost like nobody does.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd.
Yeah. So, all right. Now, this was summertime, so I'm assuming you were with the Mafia for this show?
Canadian Stampede. I want to say it was me and Andrew Flanagan, maybe Josh Risher. I don't remember.
Okay. Now, if someone wanted to buy this show, we're kind of on the fence. What would they have watched on the free-for-all that would have coerced them to buy it?
Well, let me visit bigelow34.proboards.com under the Scott and Justin pay-per-view review section. I can tell you it was the Godwins defeated the Blackjacks in 5 minutes and 32 seconds. Scott, you know what else is up on that message board right now? Our review of Royal Rumble 2008 that was just posted last night.
Yes, and very good show. Actually, one of my surprisingly one of my more favorite Royal Rumbles. However, the mood will change throughout 2008 for me, and we'll pay attention to bigelow34.proboards.com and see what I mean. But let's go back 11 years from that to 1997. All right, like we said, 4 matches. That's it. But there's something in all of them. And we'll begin our...
for
everyone.
It's the Warwick Mall song. I don't know.
Oh, okay. It's not like that was the theme of the Love Boat. And a course for adventure. The Warwick Mall had its own song? Really?
Something for everyone. Warwick Mall.
Like go to Burger King and meet all the people that are cat. Never mind. Burger King experience. Anyway. All right. Our opener.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. It's amazing how you knock me off my feet. Every time you come around me, I get weak.
All right. I have to laugh.
Sounds even better with that awesome new internet flamethrower you have
Yes.
in the man cave. So
I have to laugh because I currently without cable down here in this room while we're hooking up this other TV. So I threw in the DVD that has the Hearst-Helmsley in Royal Rumble 2000, and as the song was playing, he's crawling over a table with blood dripping down his face, and they keep cutting to different angles of him, and I just kind of pictured it being like a tribute video from you to him with this song playing.
It was.
Like he was crawling out of your room at night.
All bloody? What?
Yeah.
All right. Of course, we're talking about the betrothed, and that is Hunter Hearst-Helmsley, your King of the Ring, who won it, of course, just about 1 month earlier to the day, short a day, in my PIC home office.
Girl, he never understood what you were worth. No. And he never took the time to make it work.
Well, he's worth a lot more now that he's King of the Ring. His opponent is the guy that he beat in the finals of the King of the Ring tournament.
Yes, the feud is on.
Feud is on, and that is, of course, Mankind, who you and I had a interesting debate, a discussion about at our last week's Vault about the promos and everything. But he's definitely he's definitely become a beloved fan favorite now. And fans. Do you think the fans have finally at this point have turned pretty much full circle for him?
Yeah, by this point they definitely have, mainly because of what was going on Raw. So backstage, a lot of hullabaloo on June 23rd Raw. Shawn Michaels walked out of the promotion. Of course, him and Steve Austin had won the tag team titles back in May. He walked out after he had a backstage locker room brawl with Bret Hart. Shawn refused to ever work with the Hitman again, said he'd be gone from TV and gone from the promotion, that he wanted out of his contract. And, of course, the rumors started swirling at this point that he was headed to WCW to join the NWO. And that was kind of what he was hinting at that he wanted. So he was off TV. He had all this turmoil backstage. Now, on screen, Steve Austin's left without a tag team partner and a tag team co-champion. So they decided to hold a tournament, and the winning team of that tournament would face Austin and a partner of his choice for the straps. Mankind began petitioning Austin to pick me, Steve, pick me, with a great series of promos and vignettes, usually ending with a Stone Cold Stunner and a big old no from Stone Cold. And we'll pick up the rest of the story at SummerSlam, so stay tuned there. But a lot going on. So Mankind trying to win over the affection of your boy Steve.
Yes, and when was the Sunny Days comment? Was it that Raw or the Raw before?
No, that was a while. I think that was like in April.
Was the Sunny Days in April? Okay.
Yeah,
anyway, that Raw, by the way, was in Hartford.
Yes, this is the night after. No, a couple weeks after King of the Ring.
It was a couple weeks after King of the Ring, but it was in Hartford. Well, it might have been the night after if they were taping, or they probably weren't. They weren't doing that really. No, they probably had come back, and that was
they were live. They were live the whole summer. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
we confirmed that.
Yeah, so they were live at the Civic Center in Hatfield, and Shawn said, "Screw the slimy Canadian bastard," and Bret said, "Good riddance, you prick." So, all right. More on that as we progress, though. This match has nothing to do with that per se. Well, other than the Mankind thing, but not the Bret Shawn stuff. But this was a fun match. These guys were really. And you and I both said at King of the Ring that match wasn't terrible. It was just too long. This one was slightly short, a little over 13 minutes. It was about 6 minutes less than the match at King of the Ring. Although for you it felt like an hour probably. But this match. Much better.
Yeah.
They went bonkers. They brawled around the arena. Mm-hmm. The match ended in a double count out. They're outside on trucks and cars and
right. So I mean, it may seem like a kind of a weak ending, but it really wasn't. It definitely wasn't. I thought it was a strong finish in the way they did things. Even though there was no clean finish, you could tell the feud was going to continue another month. And I thought this was a good way to keep the heat going, have them brawl. They hated each other so much they brawled all the way to the back and were brawling out in the arena, like you said.
Yeah. Obviously this feud lasts years in a roundabout way. They would be part allies and then enemies again, but still the blue blood, although that's pretty much almost fading now. He has that pretty swank studded green robe that he wore now. He was in that. The green was just starting to seep in now. Wasn't quite what we expect. Not for a couple more months, but he was starting to wear a little more green. Remember that as we move ahead. Much more brutal, as we mentioned in the King of the Ring match. And it got much more violent, much more exciting. Chyna really was just driving Mick insane. She was really, just getting in his wheelhouse. And
yeah. She's been a big part of this feud ever since, she first beat him up on that Raw before they were even feuding. So since then, they've really kind of been... this is the feud that really, it started with the Goldust stuff with Marlena, but this is a feud to me that really puts Chyna on the map as a legit threat outside the ring and someone that would be in there mixing it up with Helmsley all the way through.
Yeah, and the crowd is obviously the crowd's ready for the main event, but they were good. They were good even in the beginning here. They weren't like quiet till the end. I mean, they were very very excited. But obviously Canada, always good wrestling fans. Very loud, very excited when it's something legitimately good for them to enjoy, and this match certainly was it. The end was, the end wasn't great, but it wasn't. But that's okay for a feud that was continuing and actually culminating in something even bigger the following month. That's fine. You need something to build with.
Do you feel like this match started to help legitimize Helmsley as a brawler as well, someone who could mix it up instead of just doing the same old kind of scientific gimmick that he had going on? Because it continues throughout the rest of this year, but this is kind of really the first brawl he's been involved in.
Well, again, yes, because of his opponent, and this would continue on for him later on in his career. But Mankind was the kind of guy, if you wanted to, it was almost like the formula of if you needed your character to have a little more of an edge, to get a little more of a little something extra, hook him up with Mick Foley. That really was the formula. Mankind was that character, and obviously his other incarnations later on down the line, which we'll document. But at least in the Mankind persona now, definitely a guy that Helmsley really needed to work with, because, like you said, he isn't just some guy who does 8 moves and just kind of works through the matches with his knee lifts and that kind of stuff. Now he could be a guy that if he needs to mix it up, he can mix it up, and he perfects that over the next, like you said, the next 6 or 7 months. He starts to perfect that style, and then he Mankind amps it up a notch for him next month. But definitely here, a 13-minute match, perfect length. As we mentioned last month, was just too long, and they didn't. And it was a different style as well. But yeah, this was just definitely. To answer your question, yes, this was definitely.
I don't remember what the other question was at this point. But we got to fix the date on that review. We had that wrong. I'm sure Derek is ripping his hair out right now, but it was June 9th in Hartford, so it was the night after King of the Ring. That the stuff happened backstage. It made sense that it would be there the next night. So the week after, they were in Lake Placid on 6/16, in Detroit 6/23, and Des Moines heading into this show. So the tournament had started. So
okay, I will do it right now for you. I will go into the thing and change it to June 9th.
Okay, good. Yeah, so that was the night after King of the Ring. So a lot happened on Raw during those 4 weeks. Of course, the biggest thing was the Bret Hart issue. And that night, Mankind defeated Brian Pillman by DQ. He was actually subbing for Steve Austin, so I don't know if it was partly trying to kiss up to him, and there'd be a big brawl at the end. So we'll get to that later on tonight. But a lot going on Raw. The Shawn Michaels is off TV, and Mankind now petitioning to be partners with Steve Austin, really pretty much solidifying his face run now.
Yes, and again, to wrap up this match, he's him and Helmsley, I would say it was like about 8.5 to 9 minutes in. Then they just started going at each other.
Yeah, yep.
And they just brawl through the crowd, out the door, and they go outside, and they're hip tossing or backdropping each other on trucks and cars, and it was a big mess. And the referee had double counted them out eons before that moment.
Eons, I say.
Eons, I say. And it ends in a double count out, and of course, that leads us to the final match of the trilogy, which will take place the following month, and obviously we'll get there. So, good opener. A lot of fun. Crowd was really into it, and who would have thunk that it would actually get better from there?
Who would have thunk that?
Who would have thunk that? So, great opener, ending in a double count out. So, the Mankind-Helmsley War rages on. Next up, something you and I have been talking about for a good year, about how to really spruce up this mid-card, because you and I have talked about pretty much since Final Four, there was some real spice and some energy to the product as 1997 was moving along, but the mid-card was still very kind of haphazard. I like how you started when it went, woo! So now, after the failed experiment late 96, early 97, where, hey, you can say what you want, but this is your fault. When he brought in those god-awful, haphazard AAA Mexican wrestlers that were just absolutely horrendous.
And we also talked about a couple shows ago how on Raw at this time, they were really just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what stuck. We were getting matches between, the Fantastics fought each other, and they classified it as a lightweight match. 70-year-old Bobby Fulton against, 65-year-old, what the fucking idiot other guy, Tommy Rogers. Yeah, so I mean, they were busting all these random guys out, and they had stuff going on with ECW. Rob Van Dam had been on, Chris Candido was on, Brian Christopher was involved. All these guys from these different indies, they were just throwing everything against the wall, trying to see what stuck. The next step was to invade ECW's invasion of Japan. And, of course, WCW had their deal with New Japan. ECW had a deal with Michinoku Pro. Of course, one of the main guys there was the Great Sasuke, or Great Sasuke, I believe, is also pronounced, and portrayed by Masanori Murakawa. Now, I'm not going to pretend I know anything about Japanese wrestling. I just don't. But early in his career, he wrestled under the name Masa Michinoku. And Taka Michinoku, who is his opponent here, adopted a similar gimmick to parody him at the time. So the two, and Sasuke was the actual founder of Michinoku Pro Wrestling, the first Japanese independent promotion not to be based around the Tokyo area. Instead, it was centered around the northern island of Hokkaido. So there was a deal, of course. Michinoku started sending some guys to ECW. Vince decided he wanted a piece of that pie. He had a working agreement going with Paul Heyman and ECW at the time. So he brought in these guys like Great Sasuke and Taka Michinoku to compete on this pay-per-view. The idea was that Sasuke would actually be the centerpiece of the lightweight division that was going to be kicking off. They were going to crown a new champion, so they started having random lightweight matches on Raw every week to kind of build towards that, and he was supposed to be the crown jewel, basically, of the promotion. Taka was brought along because he was basically Sasuke's boy, and they knew he'd have a great match with him since they had wrestled, hundreds of times in Japan, so there you go.
Yes, and finally, it was good that Vince finally, kind of had an opening, because obviously Bischoff and WCW had cornered the market on the good Mexican wrestlers, thanks to Conan and his relationship with, was it AAA or CMLL, whatever group it was?
Yeah, CMLL, because AAA was the hacks that...
Yeah, the has-beens. So Vince lucked out here. It's a shame, because I'll talk to many wrestling fans, older ones, and they'll tell you that, God, if he had just tapped into it, 5 years earlier, we could have had in that dearth of talent in the mid-'90s, we could have had guys like Jumbo Tsuruta and even Chono before he went to WCW, and he could have gotten a lot, better guys if Vince had just kind of opened his eyes to it, 5 or 6 years earlier. Instead, they had some issues, and we had some holes in the roster. But here, we get 2 exemplary, light heavyweights, and this match is just tremendous.
Yeah, and they were smart to bring in Taka to get, they could have stuck one of the, some scrub, not scrub, but, someone like Flash Funk or whatever in there with Sasuke. But it was smart to bring in someone they knew could have a great match with him, instead of just bringing someone off their roster at the time. And, they had some guys that could have gone, but I don't know if anyone could have had a better match with him than Taka did. Yeah, it goes just under 10 minutes. There's definitely a lot of things we have not seen on WWF TV, probably since... the mid-'80s when they had, Tiger Mask and Dynamite Kid and those guys, running around on MSG house shows and everything.
Yeah, and this isn't even to be funny, but if you really want to go be specific, you can even talk about the Jumping Bomb Angels. Yeah, really, if you're talking about work rate,
or racism,
or the pure talent of the Orient, those Orientals, as Larry Nelson would say in AWA. And this match is just phenomenal. And here's an area where, because I know Stu brought in some Asian wrestlers and Chinese, Japanese wrestlers in the 70s and early 80s. I know Brett mentions it in one of his interviews. So, the Calgary crowd was accustomed to it, remembers it. Maybe the older fans do. And it's just a phenomenal match. What's even better is they have a match the next night, which might have been even better.
Yeah, the match the next night was great as well. And Sasuke wins both, but Taka really shocked everyone and impressed. So there were actually 2 issues coming out of this. One was Sasuke was supposed to be heavily pushed to be the winner of the tournament, but he later bragged to Japanese media how he'd only defend the title in Japan once he won it, and would refuse to drop the title on WWF television. So WWF heard of that, and they said, well, fuck you, you're fired, and you will not be winning the title, and also the working agreement with the promotion in general was also terminated at that time. So, but Taka Michinoku was actually given a pretty good contract, so he was brought in to now replace Sasuke as the main centerpiece of the lightweight division that'd be kicking off. So,
what a dumbass! I mean,
yeah, not that bright. I mean, I don't know if he was just playing a heel in Japan or what, but it was probably just didn't make much sense. So.
No, if he was playing a heel in Japan, I'm sure Vince would have been in on it. I mean, that's pretty silly, but it's foolish to do that. He probably gave up a lot of money. I mean, look, the one thing, at least that I've heard and read about, Baba when he was alive and running All Japan and obviously Inoki and New Japan, they pay well. Mm-hmm. They pay well. You work your ass off. We're not talking, 6-minute Hulk Hogan leg drop, ear cup matches. We're talking, full night-long tournaments, 25-minute matches each. You work your ass off. Jericho mentions it in his book too. So you're not, it's not like WCW money. You're busting your tail, but you make a lot of money. So that's why a lot of guys stay there. The Stan Hansens, the Vaders, those kind of guys. Oh yeah. They squeeze as much money out of there as possible. So financially, Sasuke was probably going to make more money in Japan, but still, I mean, you want to keep the pipeline going.
Right. And you could do both. You didn't have to make jackass comments. He could have held the title and, done his thing here and wrestled there and got his guys work in the US as well. So yeah, kind of stupid.
And if he could have been a heel, he could have, if the Lawler thing with the ECW was still going on, because Lawler would end up showing up at their summer
Well,
papers.
these guys weren't announced as ECW guys at all, though.
Oh, okay. Well, they could. I'm saying it could have built from there. Because I know the feud with Lawler and Dreamer and all those guys, I think, went into their summer, whatever, Heat Wave or whatever it was. It wasn't a pay-per-view, because I don't think their next pay-per-view was till November to remember. But, they had big shows in the summer. They could have done something. The guy should have just kept his mouth shut and rolled
it was
the
stupid.
punches.
It was dumb. So, but, on the other hand, they could have just let it go. I mean, he made it over in Japan. It's not like it was going to, at the time, the internet was burgeoning, but I don't think it would have circulated, widely enough to make anyone care. So, on the other hand, they probably could have just dealt with it. They probably could have used his talent. So Michinoku actually made his American debut February 14th, 97, teamed with Dick Togo and Terry Boy against Gran Hamada, Gran Naniwa, and the Great Sasuke on ECW TV. So
I thought you said Graham Hamada.
Graham Hamada.
Is that what Graham Cawthon does when he doesn't want to be known in hotels? Put me under Graham Hamada. As he's egg-sucking dog. All right. We haven't talked to Graham in a while. We'll have him on soon.
He'll be on next week.
Look at that. I knew that. I just wanted to get the fans all ready. But yes.
I don't think so. I think you forgot.
No, I didn't forget.
That was an awful impression of Graham, by the way.
It's a tease. Well, whatever. So it was. It's all right. I'm not going to keep doing it. It's fine.
Hi, my name's Graham.
Well, then he could say it next week, and we'll have it on tape. Anyway, all right. So Sasuke wins, and then puts his foot in his mouth and is gone. But
Tiger suplex. A lot of good moves in here. The Thunder Firebomb, Tiger suplex at the end, and I'm drawing a blank on the crazy ass move he broke out.
I thought I have it written in my comments.
Space Tiger Flying Driver or something stupid like that.
Yeah, it was something redonkulous off the top rope into like the outside or something. It would kill normal people.
I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, I'm sure some of our other internet writers who probably know better than we do, but we defer to them. But it was an awesome match either way. Whether you know the titles of the moves or not, the match is highly entertaining. I don't know if it's on a DVD or not. I highly doubt it.
The next night was only 6 minutes, but for TV that's still pretty good. And these two got quite the opportunity to showcase their wares, and it earned Taka a big money deal. So
yes, it did. All right, so Sasuke wins, and he wins the next night, but Taka ends up being the winner in the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But a great match. We'll have to check. We'll check the history of WWE.com. Speaking of Graham, and see if that match is on any DVDs.
It is not.
Yeah, I highly doubt it is.
The opener was on nothing either. So
no. That's the least. What's funny is that's the least remembered of that feud between Mankind and Helmsley. But that one, I won't say it's the most entertaining. The one the next month is pretty damn good. But that one's pretty good as well. Yeah. All right. Next up is our only title match of the evening. The World Wrestling Federation Championship is on the line. As your champion, The Undertaker.
Our champion.
Taking on the Mastodon Vader. And I was thinking about this while I was prepping for tonight's show, JR. I almost feel like it, and it's not intentional. I've been listening to our last, few vaults. It's not intentional. It sounds like we're ignoring the Undertaker. Like we don't talk about him.
They kind of were.
But they were doing it. It's not us. I mean,
they were kind of ignoring his. They were kind of throwing his title feuds under the bus. He had the stuff going on with Paul Bearer that we talked about last month. That was pretty big. But his title feuds and title matches were kind of taking a back seat.
Yeah, they were. This one kind of wasn't. In fact, this one actually, there was definitely some intrigue here because these two met at the Royal Rumble in San Antonio, and Vader got the upset win. Then, of course, they met the next month at Final Four, and Taker almost caved Vader's skull in with eyeballs and brain falling out of his sockets. But it's a shame. I wish this feud, because these are two guys that really could have had a really awesome, bloody, violent feud. And unfortunately, by now, Vader was kind of an afterthought, which really sucks. But
Space Flying Tiger Drop. That's the name of it.
I knew it had Tiger in it. Yeah. You were right about that. It was something Tiger or something. Space Flying Tiger.
Apparently, it was the U.S. TV debut of that. Obviously, it makes sense that it was. So
yeah. And no, Vader didn't do that move. Be kind of amazing if he did. But yeah, it's funny because if I gotta be honest with you, JR, if Mick Foley had never happened, I almost think that they could have restructured things in '96 instead of Vader being a big push for Shawn. I really think Taker Vader would have been a really great feud in '96.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Yeah, now mind you, I'm not unhappy with Mick by any stretch. I'm just saying, let's just say, doing the what if game, which we do have a thread like that on our board, changing the book.
Yeah.
If Foley had succeeded in ECW or succeeded in WCW and never came, I think Taker Vader would have been an awesome, awesome feud. And maybe that could have led to title feuds, and obviously then they wouldn't have needed Sid. And I mean, obviously other stuff would have happened. But I feel like they really missed the boat on how great this feud could have been between these two guys. Now I know people are like, yeah, but he dealt with fat guys like Kamala and all that. But Vader was not Kamala. I mean,
no, yeah.
Let's get real here. I mean, Vader... What are you laughing at? I'm right. Vader would
agree with you.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. He's got to puke. More about him later down the line. Vader it was just amazing that the boat was missed on that. But there was a little intrigue here because, again, Vader did defeat Taker at the Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it was not the last match, never know. Maybe. Maybe not. But did you feel some intrigue while you were watching it? Or do you think Taker was...
No, because I thought they had... it was clear that Undertaker had other things going on, and he was actually scheduled to again face Ahmed Johnson here, just as he was the month before at King of the Ring, before that match was changed. On 6/16 from Lake Placid, Farouk fired... Actually, the week before, in Hartford, Farouk cleaned house on the Nation, fired Crush, fired Savio Vega, fired Clarence Mason, fired everyone except for D'Lo Brown, one of the guys that had always just kind of wandered around ringside with him. He ended up keeping him. Cleaned house at everyone else. The next week at Lake Placid, Farouk, claimed he'd have all new Nation members. It'd be 3 new Nation members, 2 new Nation members debuting to join him and D'Lo Brown. And in the main event, Farouk said it would be him and a mystery partner who would be part of the new Nation against Undertaker and Ahmed Johnson. Kama Mustafa emerged as Farouk's new tag partner. Of course, the former Papa Shango, the former Kama bin Mustafa, or former Kama Mustafa from... actually, now he's Kama Mustafa. Before that, he was Kama the Supreme Fighting Machine.
Supreme Fighting Machine, yes.
So, now he's Kama bin Mustafa. Comes out, and he is now teamed up with Farouk. And as the match wound on, Ahmed Johnson refused to tag in to The Undertaker, helped the new Nation beat him up, dropped him with the Pearl River Plunge, and joined the rest of the new NOD on the stage. They raised their fists in solidarity. So we now had 4 members of the new Nation: Farouk, Kama, Ahmed Johnson, D'Lo Brown.
I never got the whole Ahmed joining the Nation thing. I almost felt like it was too late at this point.
I think it could have made... No, I don't think it was too late. I think it made sense. The problem is just that Ahmed would, obviously, as always, get hurt in the next week during the first brawl they had. He got hurt immediately, and it derailed the whole thing. But I think it had some intrigue, because he had a good look to him. He looked like a, and he was. It was always portrayed as a, former gang member, a pissed-off gang member. So
right.
I thought it kind of made sense. I thought it did fit in a way. And I thought it gave him an edge that he had been lacking for a while. So I kind of liked it initially. Unfortunately, it got knocked off the tracks very quick. Just a cool little note. The commentary team during that match, when they were waiting to see who this newest member of the Nation would be, actually threw around some funny names. Junkyard Dog, Abdullah the Butcher, Mr. Hughes, and Butch Reed as possibilities to be joining the Nation. So I thought that was pretty funny.
That is pretty funny. You mentioned an interesting word, JR, in your comments there. And that word is gang. Because we all know what began as we were heading into this show. I don't even want to introduce it. You can. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to say it. I'll let you do it. Well, what began from this?
The gang wars. And that, of course, happened prior to the show, as each week following the firing of the Nation, the former members came out and introduced a new stable. Crush rode out on a motorcycle with his new stable, the Disciples of Apocalypse, joined by Chains, portrayed by Brian Lee of indie fame. Of course, the former fake Undertaker. And the Disciples of Apocalypse are also made up of 8-Ball and Skull, the former Blue Brothers, the former Bruise Brothers, the former Grimm Twins. Of course, that's Ron and Don Harris, and here they were named Skull and 8-Ball. The following week, Savio Vega showed up with his new crew, Los Boricuas, Miguel Perez, Jesus Castillo, and Jose Estrada. So we now had 3 groups, 3 factions. They would all be feuding forever from here on out. So
3 groups, 12 wrestlers, ranging from average to horrendous.
Yes. It actually, that would grow as well in numbers. So so there you have it. We have the 3 new factions. Ahmed was scheduled to face Undertaker here on 6/23. They had a big brawl at the DOA and the Nation. Ahmed Johnson sliced his hand and tore some tendons. On 6:30, we had comments from Ahmed saying he was recovering from the torn tendon, and he would be coming for the Undertaker when he was healthy and making him pay. And he claimed that that Undertaker sent the DOA out so they could injure him to knock him out of the match. So it was then announced that Vader would take Ahmed's spot. Of course, Paul Bearer was with Vader. And there's a lot going on there as well because Undertaker finally snapped, finally had enough, chokeslammed Paul Bearer, and gave his side of the secret story, of course, was that, let's save all that. We'll get into all that right now.
Yeah, we're on a roll here. As the fans, for those that have probably already read through our reviews, you know what I mean, but if you haven't, it's pretty clear.
Well, I don't know. Should we talk about it now? Should we keep it ongoing, or you want to tell the whole story yet? I guess.
Why don't we hold off?
Okay.
We hold off. We got a lot to talk about in the main event. We want to spoil everyone's mood by talking about that crap. So we'll move on to.
I don't think it's crap. You think it's crap?
Yeah. I don't know. We can talk about it now if you want.
Let's talk about it now. So
let's talk about it now.
All right. So Paul Bearer, claimed he had a secret. And Undertaker, like I said, finally snapped and smacked Paul Bearer around. And, Paul Bearer said that the secret was that Undertaker had killed his brother, had murdered his brother. And Undertaker, once Undertaker returned to Paul Bearer spilled the beans. On 6:30, Taker gave his version of the story and said he was held back by firefighters when he came home and saw his house on fire. And that experience made him into the Undertaker, said he was not the one that started the fire that killed his brother, that his brother had started the own fire. And also, of course, had taken the lives of their parents. So a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion. Later on that night, Undertaker came down, held Paul Bearer down on the floor and kept slapping him around, forcing him to tell the fans the truth as to what happened, and Bearer dropped a bombshell saying that Undertaker's brother Kane was still alive.
What?
So that's where we leave things heading into this show. So Paul Bearer with Vader here, and no longer with Undertaker, no longer blackmailing him. Undertaker had enough, turned on Paul. And of course, we had the whole story. The house is burnt. Undertaker's brother and parents are dead, and disputing over which of the two started the fire. But now we're getting claims that his brother is alive. See, that was pretty good.
Yeah, the build. It started off a little slow, but it did. Once he mentions that once he really turned the corner and said he was still alive, that's when it really started to fire up for me. It seemed very vague, and again, it didn't get as much as it should have because of all.
I don't do any tricks.
He's related to Taker too. Wow.
If he's lucky.
Yeah.
Undertaker, that is. If Undertaker's lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Now you must kill the termites so I can build my caskets. So anyway, back to the match. We went a whole big. That's how much is going on in the summertime. Vader this is almost a little bit of a renaissance for him, and because he just went through a really haphazard tail end of '96 into the beginning of '97. I feel like he's really gotten kind of back into it now.
Yeah,
and this was a good match for him.
I agree. I mean, but it's another one that's kind of, like you said, it's not a real feud between these two. It just kind of exists to keep the keep Undertaker on TV. Obviously, he's the champion, but also continue to push forward the whole Undertaker's brother storyline. So.
Yes, storyline. But this is just a great match. The crowds again. The crowd is even crazy for this match, and I thought they really wouldn't be, but they were. And just going all over the place, and just really good brawling, and I gave it 3 stars. As did you.
I think it's better than the Rumble match.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I mean it's at least equal, probably a little bit better.
Yeah,
12 minutes.
I have to double check what we graded that match. I don't remember. I know it's definitely lower. Maybe it was 2.5, probably.
Choke sends Vader off the second rope, which is awesome, and then hits him with a tombstone, which is even more awesome.
Yeah.
So good showing by Vader. And Taker, and gets his win back from the Rumble. So it kind of made sense because you at least could play up that Vader had defeated him back in January. There's a reason to give him the title shot here, so I thought that made sense as well.
Yes, And again, that's where the intrigue came in, that I thought that there was a possibility of Taker winning. But alas, like you said, obviously there were more important things for Taker down the line.
And it was great, too, because you really had, just to get back to Taker's title reign, you had a very fleshed out and deep upper card. I mean, the mid card and lower card are still being put together. But, you had the Hart Foundation stuff with Austin. You had Shawn Michaels in the mix. And you also had The Undertaker just kind of doing his thing, kind of involved in some things, kind of not. But he's a steadying presence. He was kind of the ruler of the promotion at this time. So you had a lot of depth to the main event, which is something you don't always see throughout the promotion's history. What is generally, just one major feud with main eventers going on. So I thought it was interesting. He had two completely separate, divided groups of main eventers that could carry any, pay-per-view or TV show.
Right. And on this night, the title was secondary, which isn't often for secondary shows, but in this case it was. But Taker and Vader put on a really fun, tough brawl, and again, it harkens to my thoughts that maybe this, that this match, that this feud really could have had some teeth at some point in this timeline of 2 years between Vader and Taker. But that, it's okay. I mean, things worked out anyway, but just a kind of a plan B. I thought that would have been a good idea. But Vader got his big title shot, first one since, of course, losing to Shawn Michaels the previous year at SummerSlam, and again falls short. And the Dead Man retains his World Wrestling Federation Championship. So a long reign, solid one in the sense that he's defending and succeeding, but obviously, unfortunately, just like his first title reign, mired in politics involving other people and other stuff going on, and was kind of forgotten, unfortunately. Not totally forgotten, but it should have gotten more oomph.
Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga!
In Calgary? Impressive. Now, neither of those guys, Booker T or Hulk Hogan, are in the main event of this match. No. Time for our main event. And this is just one of the most fun main events of all time that doesn't involve a title. Just so much fun with all 10 guys that are involved. Just such a fun match. If you remember, at King of the Ring, Bret the Hitman Hart came out and said that the following month on pay-per-view in his backyard, he was challenging any 5 U.S. wrestlers to a 10-man tag team match involving his beloved Hart Foundation. Of course, himself, the Anvil, the Rocket, the Bulldog, and the Loose Cannon. And one of my favorite and not very well heralded Raw moments, JR, involve the build of this match. I know it's one of your favorite moments, so why don't we talk about the original combination of guys that this...
Hey, PTB Nation, it is now time for the Rob Houston Memorial Hacksaw Jim Duggan Update.
VKM Jr. here with your Hacksaw Jim Duggan update. That lazy, cross-eyed prick wasn't even wrestling in July in WCW. He was too busy wiping the fucking piss stains off my pants. I'm too much of a busy man to shake and wiggle. So I pee all over my pants and he cleaned them up with his tongue. Sloppy bastard. Hey, Scott, I got a joke for you.
Yes, VKM.
What do you call a stupid bitch with a broken collarbone?
Who?
You stupid pussy. Go fuck yourself. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, out.
This guy in wrestling today is going to be awful tough. You know he's over in the other dressing room. He's big, he's young, and he's strong. And he wants to make his name beat up old Hacksaw. So sometimes I do get a little apprehensive.
You might have to get a little apprehensive next time you talk to the boss.
That's your fault. You told him to say that. Last week, I told him I said he was the best Hacksaw Jim Duggan update guy ever, and he liked that. And look what you made him say. So I blame you for that. All right. Now, and no, we're not bringing back Jake's daughter. She's done. As I mentioned,
Dead and buried.
The original team put together for this match.
No,
was pretty...
that actually happened after the show.
Was it after the show?
Yes.
No. Bummer.
Yay.
That would have been a great team.
Yes. Well, we'll talk about it at SummerSlam. We
we'll
can talk
talk
about it
about
after this. We'll talk about it after we do this match.
Okay.
How about that?
So
That
here
make
is your
you happy?
team. Your American team. I apologize for that. For some reason, I had a feeling it was a few weeks before.
Shock.
Vince flustered me. Again, I blame you. Your team of American wrestlers. What are you laughing? You're not on the team, Art. Sorry.
Should have been.
Hey, Gorilla, what's wrong with the roof of this place? Why is it sagging? Is it going to fall on us? I don't think Art Donovan ever wrestled. I don't think he ever played in the Canadian Football League. Hey, Gorilla, the end zones are too big.
To do worse than Josh Richer.
No, he didn't play Canadian football. He was in the crowd, probably, if you see a big fluffy wig. He was good friends with some of the guys on this team. On the team, of course, the captain was the guy directly feuding with him.
Will you stop?
He's telling Josh Richer to stop, not me. Captaining this team of Americans, the guy most feuding with the Hart Foundation, that is, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin, loved throughout the United States. But once he crossed the border, it was back to the in the immortal words of Vince a few years later, the old Stone Cold. And, of course, he was getting vociferously booed. The team he put together, not a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
The team of...
Well, he didn't put it together. He just declared his name in. He didn't want, of course, any other.
No, he wanted a 5-on-1.
Yeah,
That's what he wanted.
He wanted his own. He said he'd be one of the 5. He didn't really care who else. And we talked about this a little bit on the June 9th when Mankind defeated Brian Pillman by disqualification. Mm-hmm. When Owen Hart, Neidhart, Davey Boy Smith all interfered. Austin came out. He was attacking the aisle. Attacking the aisle. So afterwards, the Hart Foundation came out and Austin came out. They're all brawling. Ken Shamrock came out as well and to make the save. So that kind of hinted at things. And Austin actually dropped Shamrock with a stunner. So it looked like they were starting to build a little bit to maybe now Shamrock and Mankind would be in this match. And also Sid was still lingering because he pinned Owen Hart earlier in the night. And Shamrock and Neidhart got to a fight on the floor as well. So the next week on 6/16, we finally got the promised match from King of the Ring. And that was, of course, Steve Austin and Brian Pillman. After 11 minutes and 45 seconds, ended a DQ when Owen Hart came in and interfered. And the rest of the Hart Foundation, of course, all joined in attacking Austin until Mankind, Goldust, and Ken Shamrock made the save. After the Hearts were cleared from the ring, Shamrock and Austin brawled until the Legion of Doom appeared and helped Goldust break up the fight. Moments later, Goldust told Austin to stop the infighting. If the Hart Foundation wanted a 5-on-5, then he, the Legion of Doom, Shamrock, and Austin should be the team to accept the challenge. Austin said he would do it, but only because Gorilla Monsoon wouldn't let him face the Hearts on his own. Of course, that's the famous moment when Goldust was calling Austin Stone, which I always laughed at. Stone! Come on, Stone! That's almost better than you calling him Steve. So Goldust all of a sudden elevated into this match, and it looked like to me is because he was replacing Sid, who kind of vanished after that Raw. I'm guessing Sid was supposed to be in this match.
I would think so.
And I was surprised Mankind wasn't really what his and I know they wanted to further the Helmsley feud, but that was almost like he had like 2 concurrent things going on. He had this big feud with Helmsley, but he also had this whole storyline with Austin going on. And it seemed like maybe he would have fit in better in this matchup here. So.
Oh, and the heat generated from that team would have been incredible.
Yeah,
particularly if Sid was on it. But I like this. I like this team. The team again.
You think it's okay with Goldust in there, Ian?
Yeah, I think so. I don't have a problem with it. He's a good brawler, and this is a different Goldust.
Oh, it's just weird because he hasn't really been involved too much with any of this.
No, but who else could you have put there though? I mean, would you have had Mankind do double duty?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, no, I'm not. Look, I understand why they did it. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
But I mean, if there were other choices to be, if you could have made other choices, say you were booking, would you have had Mankind do double duty?
I guess I'm trying to think quickly off the top of my head who else was lingering around that they could have used. But I guess Mankind or Goldust. If Sid wasn't available, he made sense. But if Sid wasn't available, I can't really think of anyone else that would have fit. I'm kind of scanning the Raw results to see. I mean, the roster was just so thin at this point.
Yeah, I can't think of any. I can't think of
Bob
any.
Holly had a little mini feud with Owen Hart going on Raw.
Probably not.
Tommy Rogers, Bobby Fulton, one of them. The winner of that match got this final spot.
What is this? I was going to say Rockabilly. Put Honky in that match. Oh, God.
No, I think Goldust is honestly probably the only option. With Sid out, Goldust is pretty much the main option. So
yeah, Ahmed probably would have been a good choice that he not turned heel. No, I did not turn heel.
Yeah, he had nothing on. I mean, him and Goldust were the same. Neither had any issue with the Hart Foundation. So
yeah,
I mean, Legion of Doom makes sense because they had the little feud go with Bulldog and Owen. So
right. And of course, on the other side, the home team, Team Canada.
Well, you didn't actually name. I mean, we kind of talked about what happened. You didn't name the actual.
Okay, so it is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Steve Stone.
Stephen Cold, yes.
Stephen Cold. Steve Stone pitched for the Orioles in the 80s. I think he won the Cy Young.
Only you
Ken
would know.
Shamrock.
Or care.
We're the world's most dangerous man. Gold. And
I've been watching you from afar for as long as I can remember. You're all a real man can need and never ask for, baby. This is love, girl. This is more than a crush. Yeah. It was Harlem at the Ruckers. I saw you with your man.
We waited so long for them to come back. We had to get the song in.
yeah, I was, we were about to go to the other team, and then when you said, "Oh, but why don't you read the whole?" Oh,
We have to. We waited 5 pay-per-view years to get them back.
I know. By the way, I'm looking forward to hearing this on Thanksgiving again.
Oh, yeah.
If that guy,
We'll see.
if that guy's still there.
Maybe we get them to play it at the PC game.
Yes. Of course, we're talking about the Legion of Doom. And in that instance, though, you're talking about if you're a pure wrestling fan who knows who Goldust is, as Dustin Runnels, obviously, or Dustin Rhodes, it really isn't a bad team in terms of just 5 really good brawlers. I think that's where it fits. The character of Goldust, yeah, is a little off, but at least Dustin was a decent brawler, and he kind of would have, he would have gotten into the scrum and would have enjoyed it. And Shamrock, I just loved. He was so like,
yeah.
This is when I was in this good. When I not that I've ever disliked Shamrock, but when they did the whole interview before the match, and he's just standing there with his little robe thing on and his gloves and everything. He just seemed so focused.
Man in the world.
Yeah, he just had that look, and he was so focused, and it was really cool. I enjoyed Shamrock in this role.
And he hadn't really done the whole crazy thing yet. He was still kind of just a serious shooter here.
Yes.
Of course, it is mentioned by Jim Ross during the intros to the match that a camera crew is following Bret Hart around for a documentary that was in the works.
What?
Of course, that documentary become known as Wrestling with Shadows, which we'll talk about as the year goes on.
Yes.
Also, Owen Hart debuts his new short, flat top haircut at this show. He'd keep that hairstyle for the rest of his career and life. So, Owen Hart debuts his new haircut hair. Also, this had the great pre-match promo that is outlined in that documentary we mentioned, where Anvil talks about losing his manners, or whatever it is. I always forget how it goes. We're going to be hungry and forget our manners, I think, or something like that. Right?
Yeah. And the other funny
it's on our live chats page.
And obviously, the documentary was just supposed to be about Bret's career, and
because we're hungry and we're going to forget our manners.
What? And getting back to the documentary, because Anvil's ramblings notwithstanding, I don't know what I guess they were just doing a documentary. I don't know what the basis of it was going to be. We would all see what the basis would end up being, but more on that later. So the U.S. team gets announced, and the crowd is just, throwing things, and just, it was crazy. The heat, JR, the heat in this match. We hadn't seen it all year. Well, maybe not since Chicago. But the heat for this match is just off the charts. Off the charts. Stone Cold probably enjoyed being a babyface, but he was absolutely loving this. Having this entire crowd just wanting to just draw and quarter him, and he was loving it. Absolutely loving it. Again, Shamrock and Legion of Doom and Goldust, you're like, oh, what are they getting booed for? I guess guilty by association. And then the introductions. We start with the loose cannon, Brian Pillman. Then Mr. I don't have any manners. I have crumbs in my beard. The Anvil, Jim Neidhart. Then, of course, your World Wrestling Federation European Champion, British Bulldog. And your World Wrestling Federation Intercontinental Champion, the Rocket, the King of Hearts, Owen Hart, complete with new flat top. And then finally, the captain, and the place just went out of their skin when his name was announced. That is, of course, the Hitman, Bret Hart.
Yeah, and it just built and built with every entrance until they finally exploded for Bret. Just an amazing, amazing moment. An awesome idea to have this in Calgary during the heat and the peak, the absolute apex of this feud and this angle with the Hart Foundation. And you have the whole Hart family and friends all at ringside, which really added to it as well. And, the crowd is just insane. This match goes 25 minutes, and the Hart Foundation are the most over faces you may ever hear in a match. And the Americans are just booed vociferously throughout the match.
Yes.
One interesting thing is we actually transition a little bit of a feud. We kind of transition from Austin and Bret to Austin and Owen kind of becomes the highlight feud coming out of this match. But everyone worked really well. A lot of heat, and of course, we'll get to Wrestling with Shadows, but there's a lot of good stuff in there with the planning of this match and how it goes out and where Bruce gets involved and Stu at ringside and Austin goes out there and starts fighting with them. And, it's just great to see them all having such a good time. Everyone loved being out there. You could just see it. Pillman had this huge shit-eating grin on his face the whole time. And, Austin, you could tell, just loved it. Like you said, just eating it up with a spoon during a time where it'd be a long time before he got, to be a heel like this again.
Right.
If ever, I don't know if he's ever this big of a heel. So,
no.
There's just an awesome moment. And a great match, too. It's almost forgotten how great the match was because the atmosphere is so awesome. The match itself is fantastic. Owen Hart gets injured halfway through the match and leaves, and then he comes back at the end. Owen gets shoved into, I believe, did he get shoved into Bret on the apron? I think so. And then Owen rolls him up and gets the pin for his team. So Owen stands tall, gets the win, and you could tell they were heading somewhere with him and Austin. But if you've never seen this match, and I'd be shocked if you haven't, go watch it again because it's really, really good.
Yeah, I believe
it's awesome.
On
it's better than really good. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. I believe it is on the. I don't think it's on Brett's DVD. It's most definitely on the Heart and Soul DVD. It's got to be. And the post pin, is even more amazing.
Yes.
Like you said, Austin gets rolled up. Owen pins him. The crowd goes bonkers. They're all having their little thing in the ring, and all of a sudden, Austin comes in with a chair and just starts swinging.
Yep.
And then everybody all the family just hops the rail, and Austin's just getting the piss beat out of him. Even Stu's getting some kicks in.
Yes.
You wanted to probably lock him up in a nice Kimura armbar or whatever, and then finally the Canadian Mounties come and they cuff Austin and take him out, and they're throwing stuff at him. He's mouthing off. He's giving the finger behind.
Yeah,
his
while
back.
he's coughed it. Just great heat. The trash is flying in the ring, and all the Hart family and all the friends, they all get in the ring and all celebrate. It had to be 30 people in the ring, 30 to 40 people. This is just an awesome moment for the Hart family, and this was just, like I said, the apex of this whole thing. Scott, we did forget one guy who really would have fit in this match. I'm sure he was actually scheduled to be part of it. I'm guessing. I guess.
Oh, I thought you were going to play a song. Well, obviously Shawn.
Yes, Shawn Michaels.
If he was back. Well, obviously he wasn't around. I mean, had he
Well,
been back,
but I'm wondering if he was scheduled to be involved here. Maybe it wasn't Sid. Maybe it was Shawn.
How was he not?
Yeah, I'm sure he was. So.
Yeah. Imagine Shawn.
Yes, the heat would have been insane with him and Austin. Yeah, if you have Shawn in Goldust's place, the heat probably would have been amazing. I would say it would have been Shawn and Sid, but then you're back to maybe it would have been Goldust and not. But LOD makes sense. I'm thinking maybe Sid wasn't really part of the plan. So anyway, yeah, Shawn misses out. Really could have added even more heat to this, but maybe it was good because he didn't take any of the shine away from Austin, who was really the true top heel here.
Right, that's the other thing. Yeah, exactly. Still, though, I mean, if it was Shawn involved, the place would have been off the charts. If for some reason Austin had gotten hurt, then Shawn probably would have been the replacement because that's different. You can siphon the two of them equally, but you wouldn't want to put. I mean, that's only you're right though. If you put Shawn in there, maybe some of Austin's heat gets pushed off. I doubt it because Austin's personality is so magnetic, but I mean, Shawn. But in any event, it's an awesome match. I highly recommend it. I'm not going to get up and check the shelf, but I'm pretty sure it's on the Heart and Soul family DVD.
It is on the Brian Pillman Loose Cannon and the Heart and Soul Hart Family Anthology DVDs.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was on Pillman's. That's why I didn't say it, but I knew it was on the Heart and Soul DVD. So there you have it. There is the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view. It is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have not given an A+ since WrestleMania 10, probably our last A+. A+ pay-per-view, probably. Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I can't think of any sense.
Yeah, I don't think we've done one since. So our
we've given a couple A. Like I think King of the Ring '96 got an A or an A minus.
Yeah. Survivor Series probably got a high grade.
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
not
A,
A
but
pluses, but this is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely for us, for the place to be. The first full-blown A+ pay-per-view since WrestleMania 10, so almost 2.5 years. I would highly, if you can find if you can go on eBay or Amazon and find the tape, be my guest. Talk to our buddy Jo. He might have. So there you have it. All right, now you've heard us talk about it, but I know who you really want to hear, and that's yourselves.
Yes, and I do need to do one quick thing because I know I'll forget at the end. I want to do it now. Our buddy Michael Schutz Vincent, it's his birthday today, so I just want to wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Schutz. Good guy. He's a very good fan. Loves to listen to us. He sent us actually, JR. I have to bring him with me when I visit the man cave in a couple weeks. He sent us a couple of CDs of audio clips that he wanted you to listen to. Maybe Adam and I listened to some of them. They're pretty good. A lot of Joel Gertner, but it's good stuff. Maybe want to add into the show, but we'll talk about that later on. But Michael Vincent, happy birthday to you. Good guy. I know he went to the Raw in Chicago a couple weeks ago. He wanted to get on. We apologize. We're just jammed up.
Yeah.
We'll definitely try and get you on in the future. Though. Okay. Let us begin. All right. I'll start this one. I think you started last one. All right. Matt Souza. Fantastic show and easily the best show of 1997 in my opinion. Every match on this show was really good, from the show opening brawl between Mankind and Helmsley that continued throughout the show. The high-flying... That's right, we did forget about that. They show them a couple times, right, in the middle of the show?
Yes, we did forget that. I meant to mention that. Yeah, they were fighting backstage throughout the show.
Yeah. The high-flying lightweight spectacle between Sasuke and Taka, the stiff power matchup between Taker Vader for the title, and the unbelievable storytelling masterpiece that is the 10-man tag, Team Austin, Team Hearts. This is a show that every fan needs to watch at least once, or in my case, many times.
Fazio to Fazio. Stampede in Your House is a pretty good pay-per-view. Love the free-for-all. Godwin's Blackjack's match was a good way to start, and it took off in this time. I did bring in the chips for this. That's right. They returned PICs. I could not have been more happier with the opening. Had Hunter. Mankind put on the best match of the night. Till the next match, I'll skip now. Taker Vader. I wasn't, but at least Taker got the win. On the bright side, no Bo dip. Now the main event, Hart Foundation versus Austin. Michaels, LAD. Wow. Talk about a war. The thing was Sid was supposed to be in this match, but was gone at this point. It's kind of disappointing, but at least the Hearts got a win. I was happy, and the pay-per-view was amazing.
So he couldn't have been more happier about the opening match or about the chips?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what he meant.
I need a master's in Distrucity and Safazio.
Yes. Corey Ferreira. Finally, one of the greatest WWF shows of all time. Helmsley vs. Mankind, rematch from the King of the Ring the month before. This is a good match, but turns into a great brawl. These two are starting to build some nice chemistry together. Both men get counted out as they brawl ringside. Sasuke versus Taka. How awesome is it seeing Sasuke on a WWF? And thankfully, they gave him a worker who can work a similar style than he does. But the match is really great, considering the amount of time they are given. Undertaker versus Vader, rematch from the Rumble. I guess it makes sense for Vader to get a shot for Taker's belt, seeing as he beat him at the Rumble. Once again, these two give a good big man match, and we get another good match on this show. Taker retains the belt here. Hart Foundation versus Team Austin. For the life of me, I will never understand why Goldust is in this match. He seems so out of place here. I mean, he has been doing nothing for 4 months and is now in this big tag match. I mean, what the fuck? Well, on to the match. The Hearts get one of the biggest crowd reactions ever, and the pop for Brett is crazy. The match itself is really good. We get interference from the Hart family. So Owen rolls up Austin. Crowd goes apeshit. All the Hearts come in, and I mean all of them. All 11 kids, all the grandkids, however many of them there is. Austin trying to beat up Stu always makes me laugh out loud. Well, the Hearts have their moment in their hometown. Overall, the best show of the year, and by far, as we conclude what might be one of the best angles in WWF history. And here is the grades from Mr. Meltzer. Triple H versus Helmsley versus Mankind, 3 stars. Sasuke and Taka, 4. Taker Vader, 3.25. And Hearts Austin's team, 4.25. Wow, didn't give it 5 stars. Interesting.
Ed Harris, an excellent pay-per-view with a fantastic main event supported by a decent Helmsley Mankind match. It weirdly starts getting really good after it ends. A good lightweight heavyweight match and a great title defense for Undertaker against Vader. Great to see the crowd during the main event as they go ballistic for everything. Easily the best pay-per-view of the year.
Jay Hinchy. Canadian Stampede comes to Calgary, Alberta in the Hearts' backyard. In a short pay-per-view, but an amazing one nonetheless, and had a great atmosphere. Mankind vs. Helmsley, rematch from King of the Ring the month prior. Good match and a brawl once again from these two. The double countout doesn't hurt the match either, as it keeps the feud going. Both are starting to develop chemistry, and they take it up another notch the following month. Taka vs. Sasuke. Vince introduces the light heavyweights as he tries to counter WCW's cruiserweights. Great match from these two, and they get plenty of time as well. Sasuke gets the win in his WWF/E debut. Taker vs. Vader, another rematch from the Royal Rumble this time it's for the WWF title. Paul Bearer had spilled the beans by this point about Taker's secret that his brother Kane was alive. Match itself is quite good again from these two, and the dead man retains the WWF title. Also, Ahmed Johnson was supposed to challenge here, but got injured again 2 weeks before. Poor guy. He could never catch a break. Hart Foundation versus Team Austin USA. Fantastic main event, and the Calgary crowd is just off the charts for this, as was expected. All the Harts get crazy pops during the entrances, and Brett's is bigger than anyone's. Love the interference from the Hart family at ringside with Austin going after Stu and Bruce. Owen gets the pinfall on the Rattlesnake to an insane pop. Great match. Everyone worked hard, and the payoff was fantastic. The entire family comes into the ring to celebrate to close out the night. Overall, great pay-per-view and a good lead into our next show 1 month later.
Corey, Return of the Mac. One of the greatest pay-per-views of all time. From start to finish, it's 2 hours of awesome. High point, well, everything. But let's focus on the fantastic 10-man main event tag team match. Everything about this match was excellent, and the crowd added so much on top of everything else. Low point, nothing. Extra point, in my opinion, this pay-per-view goes on the list of the greatest pay-per-views of all time. Hell, that's a great idea for a special edition of P2B Podcast. Just saying. I won't think about it. Maybe something we have to do down the line, though, after we've reviewed more of them.
List of the greatest pay-per-views of all time? Well, yeah, interesting.
Maybe the final episode ever of the P2B Podcast.
P2B Podcast?
Final one ever. We'll close with that.
Final one ever.
When we retire.
Yes.
When I stomp on your grave.
Hey, if I'm still alive by the end of this podcast, as long as we're going to go, be pretty impressive. Todd, by God, woo! Weber, where have you been? Of course. The main event where the pay-per-view has Team Steve in the main event. The most unique show of the era. Just a wonderful event and a near-perfect card. This is the one in-your-house level pay-per-view I try to break out and watch every year or so. It gets lost in the Canadian Glory and Hart family picnic after the match, but I think they really were trying to do something bigger with Owen here. Too bad the pile driver heard around the world that day. Look at that. I wonder how many wrestlers went down to Brett's basement after the show and party with his electric chair.
Ryan Schmack! I remember the advertising Tiger Ali Singh versus Salvatore Sincere on the Coliseum video box with no match on the tape. I don't remember that at all. It's pretty cool. Blackjack's Godwins and the free-for-all was okay. Mankind Helmsley, Wild Brawl. Sasuke Taka, fast-paced, high-flying action. Taker Vader, awesome match. 10-man tag. Didn't know it was supposed to be Hearts versus Austin, Michael, Sid, and LOD. Shamrock and Goldust didn't seem right, but at least Goldust and Shamrock main event a pay-per-view. Good event, and shocked the ring didn't collapse with all the family members like one match from the ECW show where the ring collapses. Overall, good event. Bring it on. SummerSlam. And I guess it makes sense that Shamrock would have been added late, too. I guess he really didn't fit, now that we think about it. So Sid and Sean in that spot makes way more sense.
Yeah. And let's be honest, Ryan Schmuck, the difference between a WWF-built ring and an ECW-built ring is...
yes. Yeah. And they own it. That's a big difference.
One's held together by bolts, the other one's held together by spit and gum. Yeah. So, now, everyone, get out of the way, because he likes to speak on his own, for we bring in...
King James Mander!
Indeed. The referee must have been blind, deaf, and dumb not to notice all the cheating.
Just like my court jester. Drink my royal lube.
Sick of it. A pretty decent match, but a shitty finish. Although it was cool when they were still brawling as the next match was about to start. For a long while, the light heavyweight match was pretty uninteresting, but it got much better as the match wore on. Helmsley and Mankind are still fighting, but outside the arena now. Funny moment during the WWF title match when JR is talking about Paul Bearer. He says, "It's pretty hard to hide when you're 400 pounds. Ha ha ha! Jerry Lawler responds by saying, "You want to know." Oh! Sad to see Vader in a match where you knew he was never going to win, but then again, this whole match reeks of being thrown together at the last minute. Still a very decent contest with an incredibly hot crowd. Taker's best title defense thus far. By the way, where did Jim Neidhart suddenly get his own entrance music from? Can't say I've ever heard it before. The crowd is just fucking ridiculous. It's like Beatlemania in my country that I own. Absolutely love it. Finally, a great main event, which couldn't have put the Hart Foundation over any stronger. Especially enjoyed seeing Bruce Hart fall flat on his face while climbing over the guardrail.
I think it meant Brew from Thunder in Paradise.
Well, he says Brew Hart. He's changing his name to Brew Hart because he's the king. Also, Vince yells out at the end, "Austin is being cuffed like an animal." Not sure how many animals Vince has seen in handcuffs. Overall, a really good little pay-per-view, which is miles better than any show the WWF has put on so far in 1997. Definitely quality over quantity, although I must say I've never seen so many low blows in one night.
Dennis Nunez, best crowd ever. Best show of 1987 by far. Helmsley Mankind is a wild brawl that showed a lot of promise and how their eventual feud would play out. Taka versus Sasuke was a good watch. Taker Vader is a good match, made better by the awesome crowd. And the main event. My God, what it must have been like to be in that arena. I love Austin's huge smile as he walks out for the first time just eating it up. You could tell Steve was having a blast being a heel that night, flipping off the crowd as he stomps on Brett in the corner. Surprised some fans didn't jump the guardrail after Austin put Owen out of the match or tried to kill him, considering the reaction. All 10 guys worked their butts off in a tremendously fun match to watch, and it gets the blood pumping every time. Funny moment late in the match when Goldust gives a running bulldog to, I believe, is Pillman, and JR responds with Goldust with a running bulldog to Brian Pillman, if you will. Hilarious. Crowd going apeshit after Owen pins Stone Cold is a great visual to behold, although even better one is Austin flipping off the crowd as he's handcuffed. God, that man is awesome. Just fantastic stuff all around, and one of the top 10 pay-per-views of all time.
Yes.
No name here.
Yes, no name here. Your handle is FailBMFA. Great show. It's such a fun watch. I think the Goldust just didn't fit in the main event. I really can't think of who would have been better, but I just can't think of one. Thoughts? And, of course, we have talked about a few people.
Dan McGinn. Without question, this is one of my favorite pay-per-view events ever. I watched this recently with a buddy of mine, and we were amazed that WWF could get away with putting on just 4 real matches on a show and still deliver a classic. I love the ending with the Hart celebrating. I always get a bit choked up still when I see Owen's family, particularly the child holding the Owen action figure towards the end of the broadcast. I always get a chuckle when I think of the kid Brett talks about his book who wasn't actually a member of the Hart family, but the Hitman allowed him to celebrate in the ring just the same. I could watch this pay-per-view regardless of the mood I'm in, and it was an easy choice when putting together my very first J.O. order many moons ago. To think WCW countered the show by allowing Dennis Rodman to wrestle. Yikes.
Wade Ferrari. Great show that is probably the best of the year. The card was short with only 4 matches, but all of them were good. The main event is a great match with an awesome crowd atmosphere. I thought the Hart's entrance was cool with them coming out one by one with the crowd reaction getting bigger for each guy before they nearly blow the roof off when Brett came out. I also thought it was funny that they gave Neidhart a Lunger Blaze's theme. Well, there you go. Was kind of surprised that they gave Owen the winning fall over Austin, but it makes sense since it sets up something down the line.
Dave Hall. One of the best pay-per-view events ever and a personal favorite. The main event is possibly the best multi-man match in WWF history. The Hart Foundation are over huge and also all play their role well. Brett and Neidhart show glimpses of their old chemistry. Owen and Davey Boy shine, and Pillman is awesome. Austin holds the story together, selling and baiting and finally taking the pin. Great match. And the undercard is great as well. Mankind and Helmsley have a good brawl, much better than King of the Ring. Taka Michinoku steals the spotlight in his match and steals a contract as well when he and Sasuke put on one of the few exceptional lightweight heavyweight matches in WWF history. Thankfully, Modib is subbed out with an injury. Vader takes his place, treating us to a very good world title match. But the night belongs to the great Hart Foundation, and rightly so. Every match is very good or better on this card, making it a must-see event. Thank you, Vince, for finally getting it all together.
Austin Fifth.
Mr. Fifth.
Like everyone else, can't deny this was a pretty great show. Went back, and for the first time since leaving feedback on a vault, watched a VHS Coliseum video copy of the show. Hunter Mankind was a great opener and a wild brawl throughout the night. Definitely an upgrade from King of the Ring. Can they top this? Taka Sasuke had a good match. Glad to see Vince not giving up on a light heavyweight division. Don't know too much about Stampede Wrestling, but seeing this match gave me a sense of this would be a special attraction that would run in Stampede back in the day. Nice throwback touch. Taker Vader was a decent title match. Vader still isn't getting the title, and by this point, I don't think he will. The 10-man tag is just an awesome main event with 2 all-star teams. Austin was living up all the heel heat and loving every minute of it. Really great ending with every member of the Hart family in the ring, some potential superstars someday included. And as stated on the Hart and Soul DVD, it would be the last time everyone would really be together because, as we'll get to, it may go downhill from here.
Steve, riddle me this. Canadian Stampede was without a doubt one of the best pay-per-views of all time. Opener solid as Helmsley and Mankind put on a fun brawl, setting up the big blow-off next month. Taka and Sasuke, wow, with the crowd with a great match to help establish the fledgling light heavyweight division. Taker Vader was very good, much better than the Rumble match, and while you do feel bad for Ahmed Johnson, this is clearly a better choice. The main event, what can be said that it hasn't been said? Fucking classic. From the entrances to the brawling to the family at ringside, this is a perfect main event as you could get. The ending is memorable as Austin's handcuffed and hauled away, while Canada's first family have the greatest moment in WWF history. Overall, this is a fantastic show to set up a red-hot SummerSlam.
And finally, ironic that he is the last comment. His name starts with the last letter of the alphabet. Sean Zern.
Mr. Zern.
Wow, what a show this was. From beginning to end, we got good matches with a great crowd. Hunter vs. Mankind was a great brawl to start off the show. I liked it much more than the previous month's matchup at King of the Ring. The double count and continued brawling throughout the show was great, and they really added to the feud. Sasuke vs. Taka was a great match. It's something not really seen in the WWF up until this point. I know they wanted to push Sasuke, but I really think Taka was more impressive here and showed some good charisma. Vader gets another match with Taker, and it's another solid match, although I think at this point I don't think anyone thought Vader was going to win the title. The main event was just great. The Foundation as the major baby faces and Austin and company's heels made for a great dynamic on the show. A well-executed match with an awesome crowd, and the right team went over. This was just incredible. Not much more that hasn't been said already about this. Overall, one of the best WWF pay-per-views of all time. You couldn't ask for anything else out of a show. It is must-see.
All right, PTB Nation, that is it for our review of Canadian Stampede. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We have a big show coming up later this week, Wednesday night. We have our headlines. Of course, we'll be previewing Night of Champions, which is this upcoming Sunday night. And then we have Kyle Forschetti joining us. He will break down the first week of the NFL season. He's going to join us once a month on the headline shows to talk about what's going on around the league. Scott and I will then deliver our NFL picks to you. And then we will wrap up with match number 1 of the semifinals of the trivia tournament.
Yes.
Between Jason Greenhouse and Jay Hitchy. So a lot going on there. So hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We'll talk to you Wednesday. A lot going on. Busy weeks. Graham Cawthon back next week as well for SummerSlam 97, which we look forward to. So if you haven't yet, check out our Bruno Lauer 2-part interview. It's on the placetobe.podbean.com site, or you can track it through iTunes, Facebook, Stitcher, anywhere else you may need to go. So for Scott Criscolo, I am Justin Rosero, PTB Nation. We are out. We'll talk to you Wednesday night. Take care.
Bush doesn't like Lembeck either.
Who?
Hey, guys. Oh, big gulp, son. All right. Well, see you later.
Bringing it back from the loss, we have to report the trash on the chart, making you have to resort to leaving the record store instead of quenching your thirst. But at last, planet Earth, find your ass finished first. Yeah, because of ass in the course, wife asking divorce, taking half of your cash, now you asking remorse, turning rap into sport. I've mastered the part, cause the trash on the chart leave you gasping for art. Now if you mastered the art, I'm asking with force, tell the masses your thoughts to your ass is a corpse, cause the glass in the burst, unfasten your purse, give your cash to the clerk, find your ass finished first.
Because of tricks of the trades, I'm a virtual slave. A smirk will get raised once the pen hits the page, while your thoughts are the stage and perhaps getting paid. Relax in the shade, time passing in days, I'm searching for ways to avoid the charade, cause when voices are laid, choices are made, be not afraid. People plastic on earth, a verbal blast about the verse, 5 giraffe finished first.
Because of passing the torch, puffing pipes with a boost. You a hype, living loose with your life in the douche. You invite many fools when you like chemicals. Night of the living ghouls, your evil makes many brews.
You need to watch what you choose, what you give is what you get. Some are lacking intellect in their quest for a check. Is it love or respect? Does the subject get you vexed? Only 4 bars direct, the situation is perplexed.
Plus you in constant pursuit to be the last in the house.
Where's your wallet?
With the wife deep stashed in the blouse.
Like without a doubt, you can catch me on the B-side, cause the one who wins the war
is the one without pride. J5, make you feel a little gaseous at first.
Martin Lawrence.
And yes, I make you ask, is that lurch? Here to try and show lyrical madness that works. Give your cash to the clerk, find your ass finished first.